Peace and blessings. Welcome to Mental Wellness for the Culture. We are here in season 5, ready to make sure we have access to mental health and mental wellness. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. We have dedicated this episode to speak about the legacy of mothers. We have an expert therapist and 2 amazing panelists that are going to share their insight and give us information so that we can continue to grow in our community. We are also sponsored by the amazing ladies of Pi Delta Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, located in Miami, Florida. They have seen the work of mental wellness for the culture, and they have decided to put their dollars and cents behind our work and making sure that we speak about healing, legacy, and love when it comes to mothers, daughters, and all members of our community. I'd like to take this moment to welcome Dr. Magda Demerritte, a
Hi.
wonderful counselor. She is the owner and clinical director. I'd also like to welcome Katrina Lee, who works with Anova Health, and she's a communication strategist, and our very own Pamela Jennings, who is an educator in our community and in the schools. Welcome, everyone.
Hi. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. This is a sensitive topic. It may trigger some tears. It may trigger some flashbacks. It may give us the opportunity to consider not just our past, but also how we present ourselves currently and what to do as far as being mothers and daughters and aunties in the future. So I want to just take a minute and ask Dr. Demerritte, why is this so important? Why do we need to have this ongoing conversation when it comes to the legacy of our mothers?
So I believe it's important for us to really continue the conversation and talk about the legacy, because these are our first examples, right, of what it means to be a woman and what it's going to take to grow into our womanhood. And so having these conversations about our experiences, about what we've learned from the women and the matriarchs in our lives, as well as talking about tough topics like grief and loss. Those things are so important for us to create safe spaces for women to share and talk about, because it can be extremely isolating when we don't have a space to share and a space to talk about, especially when you don't have other people who may connect immediately in your circle about with the topic. So having other venues like this really creates that space for individuals to share and be able to help each other.
Absolutely. I'm glad you were able to say that and share that with our community. That's one of the reasons why I enjoy being part of the culture, is because they allow us the safe place, the safe space, this platform to speak about these issues. You spoke about grief, loss, and grief. I also want to make sure we talk about recovery and the legacy. How do we move forward? So with that being said, Katrina, Pam, could you just share a moment about your journey as daughters?
I can go first. I don't mind. Thank you, Pamela. So yes, my name is Katrina Lee. And first and foremost, I have to say how much of a mental health advocate I am. I have worked in the mental health space for almost 7 years now, helping companies and nonprofit organizations fulfill their mission values and vision, as well as increasing their visibility across all industries. Although I currently now work as a communication strategist at Anova Health in Northern Virginia, I must say that my most fulfilling role right now is as a community board member of a San Diego nonprofit called Nerds Rule Inc., where we advocate for the education, mental health, and empowerment for teens and young adults nationwide. I am so happy to be on this panel because it really is it really is a great tipping point for where I am in my healing journey. For me, healing was not linear. And the grief that I had to contend with upon my mom's transitioning, I learned that grief is a wave, sometimes calm, sometimes a riptide. And those waves, they can be small and manageable, easy to ride. You can find your balance, and you even feel a sense of accomplishment after you've overcome, like, a grief spell, as I call it. But those riptides, now those riptides will sneak up on you, they'll pull you under, and they will leave you gasping for air. And of course, the instinct is to fight that, right? To fight that current. But I have a friend that's a surfer, and I remember her telling me that the key to survive is to stay calm, float, conserve your energy, because eventually the tide will let you go and you'll find your way to the surface. And in my grief, I learned a very important lesson that strength is not always about control. Sometimes strength is in surrendering. And it was once I started surrendering to those riptides of grief where I was able to really, really hone in on the purpose of that grief. And that purpose is tied to the legacy that my mom left with me and for me. And sometimes it can be hard to understand what that legacy is, understand why that grief is there. But as I start to think about the memories of how she was a servant leader, you look in the dictionary and my mom's face is right there by servant leader. Everybody in the community, everybody in the church always came to Sister Lee to get that counsel, to get that good advice, to know what they should do next. And I find myself as being the next Sister Lee as I get texts from younger colleagues saying, can you talk? Because in this corporate world, we all need someone to lean on. So having that legacy of my mom just being that strong rock, I didn't realize how much of that I had in me until, again, I allowed the grief. I surrendered to the grief, and I just allowed God to really show me the purpose in that grief.
Yeah, I love that. I appreciate what you're saying, especially the analogy of the riptide, because that is a great analogy. It does feel like you are being pulled under at times.
Yes.
You can allow yourself to float just until you reach land or until you reach a place where you can breathe and actually swim. It makes so much of a difference. So I love that you use that as an analogy when you speak about the loss of your mother. Thank you for sharing that, Katrina. And in the world of work, we have to be clear and understanding that grief comes with us everywhere.
Yes.
It does not leave us. It doesn't say, okay, you're at work, you're good, you're fine, girl, go ahead and work today.
Yes.
It does not happen like that. So talk to me, Pamela, about your journey and things that you can share with our community about how you manage grief.
Well, I lost my mom in 1986. And so I tell people I've not had a mother longer than I had a mother.
Yes.
So
Yes.
the journey to healing, although it was 1986, is still a long journey. And like you said, it comes in waves. It doesn't always have to be Mother's Day. It could be something that you remember your mother doing. I make sweet potato pies like my mother makes them. So sometimes I'm making a sweet potato pie and I'm crying in the batter.
I've never had your sweet potato pies.
Well, we can fix that. It's really easy.
Okay. Wow.
So what I was going to say was my mom was an educator, and I knew early on because she was a teacher that I wanted to be a teacher. And so you find solace in the strangest ways. Her former students have reached out to me on Facebook telling me what a great inspiration and what a great second grade teacher my mom was.
Yes.
So I find great solace in that. I can't believe I'm getting emotional already.
I can believe it, and it's okay. It's okay.
So, I find great strength in that. But so you're right. The grief hits you out of nowhere. You're walking around and then you're doing something totally off topic and then it hits you. Going back to being an educator, when I taught elementary school, every single year for the 20 some odd years I was in elementary school, I would always do the song with my second graders, I'll always love my mama. Right? So the last year that I did it with the second graders, the very last year, there's a video, and you can see me in the video, and it was just a moment, and I had to gather myself for the kids, and so I think I find solace as an educator because she was an educator and how she reached the kids. And I think that I'm making a difference with how I reach my high school students as well as the elementary school students.
Yeah.
So, but it is a journey. I just don't know if it ever ends because there's nothing like the love of a mother.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you. I'm not sure if it ever ends, but I do know that we find some ways to manage. I've been in your classroom. I've seen your students in your presence. And I have to think that if that's what your mother was doing and that's what you are, that's an amazing thing right there. So I'm really, really grateful to be able to see that part of you, that part of your mother in you, that part of Katrina's mother and Katrina, just because of our relationships. It means so much to me to see that part in you. Dr. Magda Demerritte, one of the things Pamela spoke about was, there are opportunities and chances where she can be her whole self and know that her mother is with her. But then there are also opportunities where she hears music and the music turns into an emotional moment for her. Yes. Can you just talk a little bit about what that is? What are those stages that she's reflecting on?
So a few things. I'm hearing from both of you that legacy lives on, right? Turning pain into purpose, and really following in the footsteps that these great matriarchs set ahead of you all. I think it's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for your vulnerability, Pam, as you open up and share with us as well. So those triggers, right? Smells is a huge one, right? The smell of the sweet potato pie as it's baking, right? For me, I love my mom. My mom is 80. She turned 80 last year. So, we don't live forever. So, there's some things that I am anticipating, hopefully not for a long time, but I already know when some good white rice gets to cooking. And right at that moment, I'm going to remember because now when rice, I smell it, right? Certain perfumes and certain smells, it just brings you right back to moment, right? A hug that you smell, a church outfit, a hat, right? A song that, a scripture, just those things that, you can't get away from them because they're just a part of everyday life. So when we think about grief, we often talk about the 5 stages of grief, right? So there's denial, right? We don't want to accept it. We don't want to believe it now. And what's funny is when they originally came up with the 5 stages of grief, it was for people facing their own mortality. This was developed for people who were had terminal diagnoses, or they were, experiencing something that they were going to be terminal. And so we just, after a while in research and all that, we realized everybody goes.
Everybody.
And not only with grief and loss and death, but with transitions and job losses and all kinds of things we grieve in life, right? So then there's that denial phase where we don't want to accept, we don't want to believe it, this can't be true. Then there's that anger, right? How could this happen? Why me? Right? How could this happen to me? Why does this happen to us? Why our family? Right? I'm 19 years old. Most people have their mothers. Why does it have to be me? Why can't I have a mom for just, that kind of thing? Then there's that bargaining. God, if only, I know they're sick. I know the doctor said terminal, but you know what? I'll go to church every day. If you'll just, right? Then there's that depression that sets in, right? When you realize it is what it is. We're not going back, this isn't going to be fixed, right? And then there's finally that stage of acceptance where we've come to a place where we said, we've accepted that this loss has occurred. Now, not accepted in the sense of I'm okay now. I tell my clients who are dealing with a loss of a loved one or a family member or a parent, it's like a puzzle piece. Jigsaw puzzles. I love jigsaw puzzles.
Love them.
Mhm.
Me too.
And so the people in your life that hold special place that you love and that loved you, they're a part of your jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
And once you lose that piece, do you know you can't create that new jigsaw piece? It's gone.
It's gone.
It's just missing.
Mm-hmm.
You learn to appreciate the picture the way it is because there's no replacing that piece.
Yeah.
And so there is no getting over it.
Right.
It's just a different way of living without this person's physical
Yes.
existence, right? So we go through these stages all the time at different moments. Sometimes we're at acceptance. Tomorrow we're back at anger because now we're triggered. And why? We're watching maybe a graduation, for example, and we're seeing this 19-year-old, graduating from high school, and the mother is hugging and now I'm like, triggered from, what I didn't have that for myself, right?
Absolutely.
Or someone at the church is experiencing something, and they're calling you, right, Katrina, and it's like, this is what my mom, and that thought pops in your head, and it's like you're back at stage 1.
Absolutely.
Right? So
yeah. I appreciate that you shared those 5 stages of grief: denial, the anger, the bargaining, the depression, and the acceptance. But what I'm hearing you say is that it's not linear.
No.
Like you can skip around. You may have one at one time and another at another time. I want us to just take a second and talk about the depression or the sadness that comes with the loss and the recovery from that sadness. I remember now, in full disclosure, my mother passed, Brenda Scott Gordon, in 2010. And her death was very quick, meaning that she had an illness, and then she passed very quickly from that illness. And I remember saying to my sister, we have the means to get her amazing medical care. We made more money at that time than our parents had ever made in their entire life.
Yes.
And that was our bargain, dear Lord, we have the means to get her in the medical care. What are you doing? What are you doing? So we had that conversation with the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and he still did what he wanted to do. that was us trying to reconcile what we knew was inevitable, and that was the loss of our mother. So everybody goes through these stages on different times and different phases. Sometimes you're solo, even if you have siblings. Sometimes you go through stages by yourself when it comes to your mother. But I do want us to talk about sadness, the depression, that level of grief, and how to move. What do we do to move from those levels? Katrina, you don't mind sharing?
Not a problem. I mean, because you definitely took me back to 2009 when I lost my mom. Let me set the stage for you. Everyone on this call probably remember that in 2009, we were in a deep recession.
For sure.
So the recession didn't hit everybody, but it definitely hit me. I lost my job. I lost my car. I lost my apartment. And on top of that, found out that my mom had cancer, and she transitioned within a year of us finding out that she had cancer. But I was already in a state of depression. So losing my mom and knowing that she was transitioning without being able to witness me at my best, it really, really floored me. Like it was hard to get out of the bed. It was hard to even look for a job. I mean, the depression was so heavy. And my mom, in her infinite wisdom, because she knows her child, she knew that I would have a hard time. And unbeknownst to me, she had left a letter for my cousin to tell my cousin to make sure to look after me and to make sure that I had what I needed.
Wow, she had the foresight to see. Oh my God.
Yes, she did. And my cousin.
Are you an only child?
No, I actually have three other sisters, but it was my cousin that she put in that place that she would normally occupy.
Yes.
So that depression, it lasted for years, probably up until I met you, Belinda, in 2012. I mean, it was really a tough time for me. But when I talk about the riptides and how you just have to kind of surrender, and and strength being sometimes being surrender, it was when I surrendered that I was able to find the ties that still bound me to my mom.
Yes.
It was those things, knowing that, one, my mom, she taught me to speak boldly and literally. So when I was young, she would tell me the story in my teens that I was a very shy child and that I would not speak. Someone would look at me and I would immediately start crying and hide behind her. So again, in her infinite wisdom, she was the church youth leader. So she, would create these different programs. And one of the programs that she created was a speech competition. I also had a speech impediment when I was younger. So my mom, she didn't coddle me. She actually made me compete. I was 8, 9 years old. She made me compete in these speech competitions with kids that were 13, 14, 15 years old. Within a year, I was beating all of them. I say all of that to say, look at my title. I'm a communication strategist.
Legacy.
Speaking is what I do. So this woman, when I was 2, 3 years old, not wanting to, cowering behind her and not wanting to speak out, she saw something in me regardless. And even though I lost her 16 years ago, that tie that bound us is basically it's basically my lifestyle now. Speaking, whether I'm writing or whether I'm doing it verbally. So coming from depression and letting myself surrender to the grief, it has brought me to a point where I look at those memories that I have from her and see how it's edifying and enriching my life.
Absolutely.
This woman knew from jump who I was, and she laid the steps, whether she was going to be here or not, to make sure that I flourish. And here I am before you now. So that's how I was able to recover.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I love
that. I'm going to jump in real quickly because that reminds me of Moses, right? And Moses also had a speech impediment, right? And he told God, no, I can't, because I cannot speak. And it's so interesting how God put on purpose the hurdles that were going to exist for him and to develop him, right? Oh my goodness. So that just lets me know your mother was rooted in that faith, baby.
Yes, she was.
Absolutely.
So I want to add a little bit to that, if I might. Talking about the depression aspect, my daughter kind of brought me out of the depression because she was young. I was a young mother, and losing my mom was devastating. And I would stay every Mother's Day. I would stay in my bedroom. I wouldn't come out. Until, and I remember being in grad school and I read this book, Peter and the Talking Eggs. And I would come home and tell my daughter about this book, how the illustrations were so beautiful. And it was kind of a play on Little Red Riding Hood. And the eggs that were in the book were so beautiful. And my daughter was in middle school, and in ceramic class one year for Mother's Day, she made me some beautiful ceramic eggs. She knocked on my bedroom door, and there were eggs that were leading from my bedroom to the dining room table where she had me a gift.
Oh my gosh.
I made a promise to myself that I would never, ever be depressed on Mother's Day again, because as a mother, I owed my daughter a Mother's Day. She wanted to celebrate me. Who was I to deny her to celebrate me? That's what brought me out of my depression with Mother's Day. So
that's a beautiful story.
It was touching.
So the legacy is there. The legacy of mothers, the legacy of daughters, and how they pour into us. I have to shout out the amazing Kai, who's also a member of Alpha Sorority Incorporated, for being that girl and helping you move from that place, from that bed
Yes.
into the world.
It took years.
Yes.
Years.
It takes time, and you have to be patient and give yourself grace and make sure that you feel everything you need to feel so that when you do emerge, that you are as whole as possible, that you can feed someone else. She needed you, but she needed you to be at your very best to give her the mothering that she needed. So that's important for us as daughters to also remember there's another generation behind us.
Absolutely.
You know, some of us are aunties, some of us are mothers, godmothers, but there are always little girls somewhere that need us in our circle. I know you were going to say something else, Dr. Demerritte.
Yes, I wanted to talk about the existence of conflicting emotions. And yes, right. So you talk about, yes, it's Mother's Day. I am sad, but also I have my daughter who wants to celebrate me, which is a happy thing, right? And a lot of what we have to do as therapists is train our clients how to accept conflicting emotions, because you can have them both. It is okay. Sometimes we're sad and we're happy at the same time. And it is a thing, and it is okay. Conflicting emotions can exist at the same time, and I encourage you to ride that wave and allow both to come out the way that they need to come out, because they both exist in you.
Yeah. I love that. We have to ride the wave. These analogies are really working for me today, y'all. I'm telling you, I'm a water girl, so I believe anything that has to do with riding the wave, being in the water, making sure we are floating, that all is very meaningful to us. I want to talk a little bit about what do you do to honor your mother daily and also on a larger scale. I know for me, just as my daily interactions, and I am a clinical therapist, I always make sure I leave space and opportunity to work with young people that may have needs that require them to be in therapy, but they may not have the means for a therapist. My mother, and this was back in the day, Pamela, I don't know if you remember this or not, because I don't think you can do this now. I'm pretty sure you can't. But my mother would bring children from her class home.
My mom did too.
Really?
And I know we can't
They
do
would
that
spend the
today.
weekends.
They would come stay with us.
I wouldn't dare.
For the
I mean, you
weekend.
can, but the liability.
Let me tell you, almost on a consistent basis, there was someone from my mother's class or school that would come for dinner.
Oh,
wow. If the parents can take care of them for the weekend, come for the weekend. If they were someone that was having conflict at home but did okay in school, they would come for the weekend.
That's
and that was just a part of who she was. And my grandparents did the same thing. My grandmothers. So that was legacy in itself. Both of my grandmothers were foster parents. They always had other people's children in their homes.
Wow.
So that's part of the legacy too. But for me, as a clinical therapist, I always make that space for a child that needs therapy but may not have the means, meaning the financial means, to get that support. That's what I do daily. On a larger scale, my sister and I have had scholarships for people in our community, the community we came from, which is Brunswick County, Lawrenceville, Virginia, and also Emporia, Virginia, had scholarships in those communities in my mother's name, in her honor, especially for children that were making a decision to go to college, to become educators, because that's what my mother was she was an educator. So when I speak about what do you do to honor her memory daily, but also on a larger scale, please share with our audience, because sometimes people don't know how to honor the memory of their lost mothers.
Like you said, my mom used to bring kids home with her for the weekend. Of course, we can't do that now, but I think I honor my mother on a daily basis when I'm in the classroom. When there's a kid that needs a special need, kind of like you, Belinda. If there's a kid that may need something, I'll make sure that kid can get whatever they need. So because I know that my mom used to make clothes for kids. You know, she, like your mom, she used to feed kids. I mean, I'm not a great cook like she was, but I if there's a need, like there was prom last week, I paid for a girl's nails. You know, and the kids were like, "Miss, why you did that?" I was like, "Yeah, it's not a big deal. It's what she needed."
Yes.
You know, so that's how I honor my mom's legacy on a daily basis.
Love that.
That's good. That's good. I'll take a stab at this one. I would say that I honor my mom on a daily basis just by showing up as my full self, especially in the corporate space. Because I work with a lot of doctors and cabinet members, and I have to be a spokesperson for certain things that we're doing in the organization. And to be quite honest, is a very vanilla organization. And sometimes that can be a little bit daunting when you're like almost a lot of times the only one in the room. But being able to show up as the woman that my mom has raised, and not being scared, not even having imposter syndrome, knowing that I belong. Like, she instilled that in me from day one. And I would say that has been the daily hat tip to my mom, is to make sure that when I show up, I'm representing not just me, but I'm representing her too. So I'm going to come correct. And so that's my daily gift. I would say on a broader scale, I mentioned at the top of the broadcast that I'm a community board member for a nonprofit organization called Nerds Rule Inc. My mom loved young people. And I find myself gravitating towards opportunities where I can work with young people, mentor young people, be there for young people. And I know that that's going to be something that I continue to do.
Absolutely. And that's so important that we realize the connection.
Yes.
You understand what your mother poured into you. You were able to observe your mother, and you saw what she was doing for young people and in the community. So Pamela's able to do that at her school. You're able to do that in corporate America and with your nonprofit organization. I'm able to do that with my work. But I just want to go to something that's a little bit more controversial. And Dr. Demerritte, you can help us with this. What do women do? What do daughters do that are not in good relationship with their mothers, or feel like their mothers have transitioned but have not left them with a legacy that's positive?
So there's still grief. It's just different, right? It is the grief of what could have been or what should have been. Right. And so helping individuals to process limitations of those parents, right? Because to be honest, as much education as I have had, I am doing the best I can with the two that I have. Okay. It is a daily process because my children are who they are. No book can tell me exactly what to do with my two. Right. And so that goes the spectrum of, okay, I'm not causing trauma per se, but you have parents who they didn't have XYZ. They didn't have parents who told them, I love you. They got whoopings, or they had, different things. They went hungry. They struggled through poverty. And so the way that they raised their children was through stress. Yeah. There's research that we know, adverse childhood experiences. It's called the ACEs study. And that tells us that stressors that you experience in childhood, that is directly correlated to physical health problems later on in like there's a direct correlation. And so the things that we experience as adults that had traumatic upbringings or raised in poverty or stressful situations, when you experience loss and you didn't have a good relationship with your mother, or you blamed your mother for a lot of the things that you experienced, whether they were at fault or maybe not, maybe it's a misperception on your side or whatever the situation. The bottom line is there's still grief. And there's all the grief of what could have been, what should it have been, when you're watching other people get married, for example, and you're seeing that maybe there's a great mother and daughter-in-law situation, or there's a great mother-daughter dynamic that's happening for the wedding. And, it's just a suffering of, I didn't have that and I don't have that. And so it's a very real thing, and it's something we work through, we talk about, we process. There's no shame in that, because it's just living. It's life. It's the human experience.
Absolutely, the human experience. And part of the human experience is the loss.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
And so we have to be mindful of that. We have to remember that is something that everybody experiences. There's not one person on earth that was not born from a mother. It's just not so. I know you've seen things on social media that say otherwise, but I promise you, those things are not real.
Technology is doing some things. I don't know.
AI, I don't know, but I'm telling you,
yeah.
I have not seen it in real life yet. I don't want to see it. I think we need to just keep it like it is. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Kind of a situation. But I have to laugh, because one of the things that my mother used to do was laugh. She would laugh at herself. She would laugh at us. She would laugh at other people. And I find that I have to find joy. I have to be around people that can take a moment and acknowledge joy. If I can't find it in other people, I have to go out in the world, ground myself, go by the water, ground myself. I have to find children that I can watch run around and just enjoy themselves. I try not to find joy in social media. I know some people will go to TikTok or they go to Instagram and watch things there, but I think it's important for me, because I didn't have that growing up. It's important for me to connect with the world in some type of way and find that joy. When you think about your mothers, what was their joy? What brought them joy? What did you learn from them that said, find joy, be joy, I am joy?
Yes, I absolutely love this question, because in my preparation to be a part of this panel, I really just started thinking about all the things that my mom and I used to do together. And the one main thing that we did was read. And we read a lot. Like, we would even on Saturdays go to the bookstore. This bookstore had 25-cent books. So you know how long ago that was.
Yes.
Go to the bookstore, we would trade books. But she really did impress the importance of reading and education to me. And as I started my healing journey, one of the things that I made sure to put in my mental health toolkit was reading. So I read a lot, like I was reading earlier today, because that is one of the things that, one, connected me with my mom, but it's also one of the things that gives me joy. I love to read, to escape in a good book. And if my mom hadn't been such a stickler about me reading, I may not have ever discovered this wonderful tool that really helps me to calm my mind and prepare for what's next. So for me, it's reading.
Oh, I love that. Reading and books and joy from my mom. I love that. What about you, Pamela?
So mine is not as serious as that. My mom gave to me my love for sports, believe it or not.
You
my
are
mom
a
and not my
sports
dad.
fanatic. Oh my gosh.
So I remember, as a kid, we would watch football and basketball. We have always been Miami Dolphin fans. I'm a Miami Dolphin season ticket holder now. But I just remember on Sundays, she taught me the plays. I remember cutting out an article in the newspaper that showed all the calls that the refs made. So she gave me my love for sports. And then, and I know she would be so excited that I'm a Miami Dolphin season ticket holder. And I remember when the Dolphins won the Super Bowl, the one Super Bowl we won 8,000 years ago, we had a Super Bowl party. And one of my fondest memories was, I don't know if you guys remember Andalusia Bakery that was in Coral Gables. I don't know if you guys remember that. So we had teal and orange bread made for our sandwiches for our Super Bowl party. It's crazy. This is all coming back to me. And that same night, my bicycle was stolen from in front of our yard. But so that was one of the good memories that I had. And then there was a picture that I saw of my mom, and she raised her head back and she was dying laughing. She was at a party and she had on this dashiki. And I was like, oh my God, that's where I get my love of life from. How she like embraced every minute and she just laughed out loud, like you say your mom did, Belinda. And I was like, oh my God, I never knew that. So those are some of the things that I remember that, some of the things that remind me of my mom and why I'm the way that I am.
I can see that. I'm so glad you shared that, because when I say Pamela Jennings is at every Dolphin game, you travel with them.
Win or lose. I love it.
Win or lose.
And don't you travel with them, like when they go out of state?
I do.
Oh my God.
I do. I got 4 games for this season coming up.
Listen, this is a legacy right here. Miami Dolphins need, listen, come talk to Pamela Jennings. She needs more tickets, more people to travel with her. I love that. It's beautiful. Oh my goodness. Well, those are the things that I think about when I think about my mother. It's not just the loss and the grief, but the legacy of joy that she shared with me.
Oh, absolutely.
And so if you could just, for our audience, say your mother's complete name and what she would want the world to know. What she would want the world to realize about her life and the quote that she may give to our whole universe.
Wow.
Love that. I love that. And it's funny because actually that was one of the things, one of my little talking points was a quote that she would always say when I was younger. But of course, at that age, I really didn't get it. And it's really simple. It's, if it's gonna be, it's up to me. She would say that all the time. And it really came full circle, because as I was telling you earlier, that I went through that depression, going through the recession and then losing my mother and her leaving without seeing me, at my best. Right. About 4 years ago, I had a dream. And in that dream, my mom came to me. And I am not going to get emotional.
It's okay, though.
In that dream, my mom came to me and she didn't say, I'm proud of you. What she said was, I knew you could make it. I knew you would get to the other side. Yeah. And when I say my heart just melted upon waking, like, did that really happen? Like, did my mom just really come to basically tell me that I'm doing the damn thing?
You are doing it.
I'm really doing it. Like, I've made it. Like, can't nobody tell me nothing. My mom, all the way from the other side, came to tell me that I have made it to the other side. And it all stemmed from that motto that she would constantly say, if it's gonna be, it's up to me. And so to have that confirmation that everything that I have been working towards and everything that I have been trying to overcome as far as the grief, that it's a new day.
I love that. If it's going to be, it's up to me. That is something that we can all take with us from your mom. Tell me your mom's name again.
Patricia Ann Lee. Her initials are PAL.
Patricia Ann Lee.
And that's exactly what she was to everybody who knew her. She was everybody's pal.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Katrina. Absolutely. Pamela, if you could just turn your camera as you tell.
Did I do that?
I think so.
How did I do that?
I don't know.
Oh gosh, I don't know what I did. I didn't touch anything.
But if you can share a quote or what you think your mother would tell the world.
So my mom's name is Maddie Louise Bailey Craddock. And one of the things that she would always say to me was, pretty is as pretty does. So, and that stuck with me. Kai Jennings can tell you that pretty is as pretty does, because it doesn't matter how pretty you are. You have to always do the right thing. Your looks aren't going to let you get away with much. You just have to always do the right thing. So that was one of the quotes that always that still sticks with me to this day.
Yeah, I love that.
I don't know how to turn my camera on, Belinda.
Belinda, can I still have mom with me, but I would
Yes,
like
I was going to ask you to share, please.
I would like to share.
Yes,
So
sure.
my mom is Manicille Augustin, and one thing that has stuck with me is this phrase in Creole that she says is "da fait tout travail." So they call me Da, right? Da fait tout travail, and what that means is translated, "Da, make your head work, make your head work," right?
Make your head work.
Oh my goodness! And I swear this is how I live. If there's a solution, if there's a more efficient way, if there's a more effective way, I'm going to find it. Mm-hmm. So my head is always going. I'm always looking for solutions, and I'm always looking. My head is always working. My tête is travailling. Okay.
Absolutely. These are the legacies of mothers, and I really appreciate everyone being able to share that. One of the major legacies my mother sent to me, and I am a legacy of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated through my mother, my aunties also. But one of the things she shared with me was a love for HBCUs. I am a graduate of Hampton University. My mother had me on the campus of St. Paul's College in Lawrenceville, Virginia. I was at step shows. I was eating in the grill. I was at basketball games. I was at football games. I was in cotillions on the stages of that campus. I was in her class because she became an instructor at some point at St. Paul's College, and I would sit in the back and do my work. My uncles had me at the Q House. And
the Q House.
I was at the Q House. I was a little 5-6-year-old girl hanging out with my uncles because they were babysitting me, and I knew all the Qs on campus. And they took good care of me. I never had any problems. They took very good care of me. But I learned that HBCUs are very important, and it's part of my legacy to support HBCUs. What in the community did your parents say to you had to be supported, that you have to put time and tithes and talent into?
Well, I would say that my mom, she was the church youth leader, and she was a servant leader. And one of the things that she always did was take care of senior citizens, older people. Like, she even had us going to the nursing homes every first and third Saturdays to hold services for senior citizens, church services. We would praise, we would worship, we would hold their hand, we would, feed them. And as a young person, that wasn't how I wanted to spend my Saturday. But when my mom explained to me that a lot of times residents in nursing homes, they don't get a lot of visitation from their family. They are often just left there on their own, on their own accord. It really changed my perspective. And not just with nursing homes, like, she would even take me and my younger sister to actually go to older people's homes and clean up their home. Like, that was definitely one of her purpose in life, was to take care of the older generation. Now, I will say that I can do more than what I have been doing, but now that I'm talking about it, I definitely I don't just want to focus on the teens and young adults, but I do want to do more in the area of taking care of our older generation moving forward.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that, Katrina. That, to me, that is God's work. When you go into someone's home, it helps them clean and live a better life within their own four walls. That is God's work. So thank you so much for sharing that. Anything from you, Pamela, that you want to share, even though you tilted to the side?
I don't know how to change myself back. I don't remember anything. Oh my goodness, I'm tilted to the side. I can't focus now. My mom was an active member of our church as well, Greater St. Paul AME in Coconut Grove, where I am still a member. And I just remember her instilling in us going to Sunday school. I don't know about you guys, but I dislike Sunday school immensely. But Sunday school is the foundation of the church, right?
Yes, it
And I
is.
always instilled it in my daughter to go to Sunday school, and quite the opposite. She loves Sunday school. So, and I'm still an active member of Greater St. Paul AME Church right now, and I'm active with the academic ministry. So that, I guess, church is the foundation of which everything is built, and her beginning that legacy, and I'm still a part of it now. So in the very same church.
I
So
like that.
that's important to me, to give back to the
Absolutely.
youth in the church.
In the church, within that organization of the church, to give
Mhm.
back is so important. HBCUs are so important. And I have to let you know that this platform right here, From the Culture, Mental Wellness for the Culture, is because of a mother of Jessica Garrett Mockins, the producer of the show, said to me, encouraged me to do this show.
Wow.
I was
Wow.
in Jessica's home. She's not my mother, but she whispered things to me that let me know her spirit was from a place of mothering. And I'm so appreciative of that, those words, that I feel like this is something that I have to continue. And I have the energy and the spirit of her behind this show. So I don't do it just for the community. I do it also because it's a healing platform for us.
Yes, it is.
And I want to make sure we continue that. And I can hear her say, push on, keep it going. You can do this.
That's right.
So with that being said, go ahead, Dr. Magda.
I was going to say, well, Belinda, being that the oldest fragments were found in Africa, I would beg to differ that she was mom. Our community is our community, and we are all mothers to those whose mothers are no longer here, and to those whose mothers are even here. I remember different phases with my children playing sports or different activities. If I couldn't make it, there was a mom ready, on standby, ready to go. There was another mom. Do you need these stockings? Because I'm here and I can get them for you. Girl, pick them up for me, because I'm not going to be able to get that. Can you take her home? Because I got her, right? This is what we do. This is what we do as community.
It is. And you are right. Mrs. Patricia Garrett was definitely a mother among mothers, and I'm appreciative of her every day. When I think about what's a way for us to close, because we're coming to a close, and I know we haven't spoken about everything when it comes to our legacy of mothers, but I just want to do some quick fire questions. Ready, Pamela? Ready, Katrina?
Can you turn me the right way?
I cannot. It is what it is.
Okay, let's go.
Quick fire questions. The favorite dish from your mother?
Sweet potato pies.
And what?
Dressing for me. Her dressing was
dressing and sweet potato pies. Mine was my mother could make the best pot of collard greens ever.
Ooh.
I have not tasted a pot as good as that to this day. Ever. She made this breakfast cheese. I don't know what it's called, but it was delicious. Cheese. It was a cheese. It was like a fried cheese, but she made it from the cheddar cheese block that still had the red rind on it. And those are things I try to replicate, and I have not been able to do it exactly, but that's something that she left as part of her legacy when it comes to culinary arts. What about you? I know you said rice earlier, Dr. Magda Demerritte.
Yes, my mama can make some white rice, some Haitian white rice. I'm telling you, smell up the whole house, wake you up out of your sleep.
I'm trying to get some sweet potato pie from Pamela in a week or so. Okay.
In a week or so?
In a week or so.
You got
Next question. Did you ever travel with your mother somewhere and had a good memory of that trip? Where did you go? What did you do? What made that trip memorable for you?
every summer we used to always go. My mom had 10 brothers and sisters, right? And they
Wow.
all lived in some part of Georgia. So every summer we'd load up in the car and go to some part of Georgia. I tell you, I've been to more places in Georgia than I care to remember. I've even been to Plains, Georgia. But it was always fun. And we would pick up a sister along the way, and two of them had preachers as husbands. So those were always fond memories. I waited for summer with bated breath.
Love that. So part of Georgia. I would go to Georgia in the summers too, and that was like a good time. It really was.
A good time, right?
I appreciate it. Yes. Yeah. What about you, Katrina?
Yeah, my answer is definitely related to the summer as well. So I grew up in Mississippi, and my family, we didn't have a lot of money, but my mom and aunt made sure that we had a family vacation every summer. And although we did go to Georgia a couple of summers for, Six Flags Over Georgia to Atlanta, my favorite vacation spot was the Great Smoky Mountains in Dollywood.
Yes, in Tennessee.
In Tennessee. Yes, being in the mountains, like I definitely get that, loving being in the mountains from those summer vacations. And I remember one time at Dollywood, there was this silly country song that I learned. And you know how family members are. They're like, oh, sing that song for Auntie so-and-so. Right? And so we get to Dollywood, and this particular time, Dolly Parton was actually there. And they made me sing the song for Dolly Parton.
Oh, no.
Yes. And I know Dolly was like, okay.
I got my boots on the
ground. With all my heart. And I'll never forget that. That was just such an amazing memory because I love Dolly.
I love Dolly too. I love that. That's a good one. Where was social media then? That could be
exactly. Yes, we used to have a VHS tape of it.
I was gonna say you had a camcorder then.
I love it. We gotta find it. What about you, Dr. Magda? Thankfully, your mom is still with us. Any tips?
So I went to Haiti when I was younger with her, and I don't know. It was in retrospect, when I look back, I laugh. But in the moment, it was not funny. We were going to the mountain to go see where they were from in the mountains. And the only way to get there, you could get there halfway by car, but the only other way to get the rest of the way was by donkey, right? So, honey, they put me on a donkey by myself. I think my donkey was depressed. I think the donkey had some issues because I swear the donkey looked like it was trying to go off of the edge. And I was scared to death. And I was like, Mommy, no. And she just simply said, the animal knows more than you do. Trust it.
Trust me.
I was like, okay. I'm here to tell the story. So
that's a great story.
I love it.
Very funny, but not in the moment, honey. I was
right.
Oh my gosh! Not the donkey knows what to do. You be quiet.
You be quiet. You don't know
what to do.
Oh my gosh! Well, my story is, my mother did not grow up with a lot of money, and she had never actually been on a flight until she was an adult. And my good friend and soror, member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Leori Mallory, from my hometown, we decided to take our mothers, her mother Elizabeth Mallory, my mother Brenda Scott Gordon, to Las Vegas for ULE, the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Conference, yearly conference. And when I tell you, that was the funniest trip ever because they were both so nervous about flying across country that they were not drinkers. My mother's favorite drink was ginger ale on the rocks. And we made them take a drink because they needed to calm down and go to sleep. The way they acted once they started drinking was not what we expected. And we basically said, never again, never mind. We're not going to go anywhere else. We're not going to drink anywhere else. But they had a ball and created a great memory. And Leori and I were just glad that we were able to take that trip with them and that they were able to enjoy themselves. And I think that's the message that I want to make sure that we have. While you do have your mother and she's in your space, create those memories.
Yes.
Take the time to be the daughter that you feel like you should be. You will want somebody else to be for you. And when the loss comes, because it will come, you will have less regrets. It's not that the grief will not be there. The grief will be there, but your regrets will be lessened. And that's what you really want, is to have that opportunity to grieve in the healthiest way possible.
I would love to hear let's hear Katrina and Pamela share what would be your advice to those who have their mothers in their life. What would you say?
That's a great question.
You have to treasure them because they aren't going to be there forever. So you have to love on them and show them you love them. Tell them you love them every chance you get, because they're not going to be there forever. When you were talking earlier about, if people were, I think you said something, Belinda, what if people who were mad with their mothers or angry with their mothers? I could never imagine that. Like with my mama, I could never imagine that. So I just think that you should end the conversation. I love you. Kai and I do it all the time. I love you. Just out of the blue, you just have to show them that you love them and tell them every day and how much they mean to you.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and mine is probably a little bit more practical. I would say get the recipes, because there are so many recipes that my mom used to cook. She used to cook this corn salad that I loved. She would make biscuits from scratch. And I have none of those recipes to show today. So get the recipes, and not only get the recipes, get the stories. Our parents have been through so much, especially, back in the 20th century. We're in the 21st century now. And some of those stories are getting lost. I know stories that my mom could have told me, or she probably told me, but I didn't write down. Those stories may be lost now. So I would say get the recipes, get the stories. They won't be here forever. So you want to make sure that you record everything that you can now.
Yes. Oh, I love that. This is good information.
Absolutely.
And it makes a difference in our audience members. It gives us a chance to pause and think about what's next. What do we need to do for ourselves, for self-care, but also what do we need to do in our relationships with the mothers that are out there and the people that we love. I want to thank Dr. Magda Demerritte for coming on Mental Wellness for the Culture and sharing her expertise. Our amazing panelists, Katrina Lee, Pamela Jennings, for taking the time to laugh, to cry, to remember, to reflect, to share, and to know that you are the living legacy of beautiful mothers. It hasn't been easy, but you are still here. You are your best self, and you have little ones around you. Little Kai, who's a grown woman, but still a little girl in your heart. And then Katrina, you have nieces that need you and desire to have those moments with you. And I myself, I have my own daughter. I have two amazing nieces, and I want to make sure I leave a legacy with them as well. I want to thank the amazing ladies of Pi Delta Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated for thinking this topic worthy of their sponsorship. Legacy is important in Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and all D9, but it extends beyond the sorority and incorporates all the women of the world. So I appreciate them for taking the time to be here with us today and to sponsor this conversation about the legacy of mothers. There's more to come. We will see you soon. Take care, everybody.
This was